Hello, I'm Matt Galloway, and this is the Current Podcast.
Sunday in Gaza City, Israeli forces launched an air attack on a tent used by media. 6 journalists were killed, 5 from Al Jazeera and 1 freelancer. Journalist Amir El-Sultan was nearby when the attack occurred.
The guys next to me started shouting, "Help me, help me." I went out and found my colleague, Mohammed. He had an injury to his leg and foot and to his back, so we started running out to the tent because the tent was full of dust. I headed in a direction to see where the explosion had occurred. I headed to the Al Jazeera tent and found my colleague, Anis al-Sharif, my colleague Mohammed Burafih, and other colleagues. They are inside the tent, martyred.
Anis al-Sharif from Al Jazeera was the most prominent of those killed. Israeli Defense Forces say that al-Sharif was an active member of Hamas's military wing and, quote, served as the head of a terrorist cell in Hamas. It's a claim al-Sharif had denied and that Al Jazeera refutes as well. Ahmed Zakot is a Pulitzer Prize-winning Palestinian photographer and journalist from Gaza. He knew and worked with Anis al-Sharif. And we've reached Ahmed Zakot in Calgary. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Ahmed, my condolences on the death of your friend. How are you doing this morning?
Yeah, it's been incredibly difficult losing a friend. Never easy, as you know. Yeah, but losing someone is such a tragic and sudden way, leaves a deep wound. I have carrying a mix of grief, anger, and helpless for that. Yeah, even though I'm physically safe here, but as my heart's still in Gaza, and yeah, every lose feels personal.
What was it like when you heard that news? Were you surprised?
Yeah, when I first heard about that, I couldn't believe, honestly. But I remember I was with my kids eating, having lunch, and from it was when the message come through, I froze at the beginning moments, and I kept rereading the names that I saw it in WhatsApp news group that I still one of the members on it, hoping it was a mistake or it's not correct. So unfortunately, Anas was one of those names, and his friend Mohammed Koreke. I had worked alongside with him as a friend who was working on the field in Gaza Strip. We, as you know, it's a little bit community in Gaza because there is no too many journalists over there. I know him since for about 7 years. So yeah, it's a very hard thing to believe, honestly.
So you knew 2 of the journalists who died, Anas and Mohammed Kareka. Tell me a little bit about each of them, if you could. I know you were especially close with Anas.
Yeah, I'm especially close with Anas because I have met him too many times, and yeah, outside work, both of them. I have met Mohammed, by the way. He wasn't a journalist before October 7. He was a trainee a trainee student, a media college trainee student with some local new media organizations. Also, they were kind of friends who always lifted the mood. Anas had this warm, genuine smile that could break the tension even in the middle of the crisis. When I was talked to him many times, yeah, you feel that guy, he's carrying a big hope for the Gazans and a big kind feelings toward the Gazans, and he was carrying a big hope toward the world that this international community and the world and the people in the world will affecting the Israeli government and affecting the international community to stop this war. And both of them honestly carrying such a productive feeling honestly.
Enes has been referred to as the voice of Gaza. Tell me more about the work he did. How often was he filing? How often was he in videos and reporting from the ground?
Yeah, honestly, it's true, and it was very clear because Anas, during the war since October 7, when he began his work with Al Jazeera, he's keep reaching to the very, very dangerous areas and in a very, we can say, areas close to the Israeli military operations to cover and document all the humanitarian stories from there, the suffering, starvation, the yeah, he was brave, and I told him too many times, don't risk your life, honestly. Don't do that because it's risking your life. But he kept that and he insisting to keep covering and reach to the to such of those areas, honestly. So that's why people, when they saw him in everywhere, they called him, "You are our voice. You are our voice." They told him literally that, and too many activists on the Facebook, on the social media platforms, wrote that Gaza, when Anas died, Gaza lost its voice.
You also were reporting on this war until you left Gaza. What was it like for you to be there? I know you're a father of 3, and Anas was also a father. What does it mean? What was it like for you when you were on the ground?
Yeah, it was like walking. That yeah, I can't explain honestly. I know that. I know when someone loses his life because of his work. When I was working over there, I spent 6 months during this war covering, documenting, and chasing bombs, bombardment, funerals, and everything over there. It's a catastrophic, honestly, and it was very hard. And during the 6 months, too many journalists killed. Some of them were my friends, and we reached to a moment that is carrying a camera and keep documenting without responding from the international community and keep reflecting those stories without any response or any positive results from the world. This was making us as a disappointment people. So as a disappointment journalist, that we are keep working without any result, without any results, or this will keep going. And look, sometimes when I was working and covering and documenting some funerals and looking at the eyes of the relatives of the people who lost their sons, daughters, wives, or whatever is that, I was feeling that one time or one day I will be one of those guys. I will be cry on my son, daughter, father, brother, sister. So it's very disappointment, honestly, situation. It's not easy to cover. This war is totally different of the other wars that have been Gaza faced. I have covered 5 wars during the past 7 years, we can say. This war is totally different.
You have a young family, as I've mentioned. What impact has this war had on them? You are now safe with your family in Calgary, but it is, I'm sure it still has long-lasting effects.
Yeah, even though we are now far from the bombs, the war follows us. My children still ask about family and friends in Gaza, and they see the sadness in my face when I get news from home through WhatsApp, TV channels. So you know what? People like us keep connecting with our friends, relatives. We can say, a hidden ties keep connecting us with Gaza and what's happening in Gaza. So there is sense of the displacement and longing. Honestly, they have lost the feeling of the normal childhood. But yeah, me and my wife keep working on them as a psychologist. Honestly, he's dealing with his patients, and yeah, step by step, we are trying to change their lives, trying to let them forget what was happening over there. because, as you know, they are children. They don't have to grow up in such of these situations.
Okay. Ahmed, Zakot, I appreciate you speaking with us this morning. Thank you for this.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Ahmed Zakot is an award-winning Palestinian journalist who fled the war in Gaza. We reached him in Calgary. Now, the United Nations calls the killings of these journalists a grave breach of international humanitarian law. Yesterday, the Canadian government also condemned the targeting of journalists and is calling for accountability and protection of the media. 192 journalists have been killed since the start of the Israel-Hamas war in 2023. That number is according to the Committee to Protect Journalists. Joining me now is the committee's regional director for the Middle East and North Africa, Sara Qudah. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Sara, what did you think when you heard that this attack had happened and 6 journalists had been killed?
First of all, I just want to say it's a very hard situation for everyone. I feel very sad for Anis's family, the family of the journalists who've been killed. Mohammed himself, he was speaking now, and it was very hard to hear from him. To be honest, and this is very horrible to say, I was not surprised when I read the news. I felt terribly horrified of the news, but it did not come to us as a surprise. It became a predictable pattern happening to journalists in Gaza, where they receive threats and actual threats, and then few months later or weeks later, they are targeted and killed. So it wasn't a surprise. We knew that al-Sharif was threatened.
Tell me a little bit more about that, because I understand last month your organization actually called for al-Sharif's protection because he'd received threats. Tell me more what we know of what kinds of threats he had received.
That's true. al-Sharif, we are in constant contact with a lot of journalists on the ground. Among them is al-Sharif, where we knew that he's been receiving threats. Not just last month, but before that. Last month, he reached out to us. He said that he received several threats on social media and on his phone, threatening him that he will be killed because of his reporting and because he was accused that he is part of a military cell with Hamas, affiliated to Hamas. And he was very worried. We quoted Anis during this time where he said, I feel that I will be bombed and killed at any moment, and I'm afraid for my family, for them to pay the price. I lived this before, and I don't want it to happen again. He was referring to his father, who was targeted and killed because of what Anas is doing. We immediately tried to respond to his fears. We issued a public call asking and demanding the protection of al-Sharif. We reached out to the IDF, to the Israeli Defense Military and forces, and we asked for clarifications on these threats. And they did confirm the threats, and they did confirm that he is a target for him because they believe he is affiliated to Hamas.
You know, since the killing, the IDF had said in a statement that Anas al-Sharif led a Hamas cell and was, quote, responsible for advancing rocket attacks against Israeli civilians and Israeli troops. It cites documents it says were discovered in Gaza showing he was receiving a salary from Hamas. It also released a photo of al-Sharif with Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, who was killed by Israel. What do you make of the IDF allegations?
To be honest, it's very easy to throw these allegations without any solid proof. The IDF, until this moment, did not provide publicly or privately any solid proof that Anas al-Sharif was actually affiliated to Hamas. The pictures that they shared are very old pictures, first of all. Second of all, having pictures with any governmental or any military group does not prove that you are a terrorist. These pictures were prior to the war in Gaza. Second of all, those sheets that they claim that Anas al-Sharif was taking salaries from Hamas. What is the proof, first of all, that those are real and verified. They did not provide this proof. They did say that those are old sheets from 2013. We are 2025 today. A lot of things changed. In 2013, al-Sharif was only 17 years old or 19 years old. I'm not sure how old he was, but he was still a teenager.
I wonder, there's a lot of people talking about here in Canada about what his connections were to Hamas. If you go on social media, you'll see lots of people claiming, in fact, he had these ties to Hamas and citing the IDF. And then we have prominent columnists saying the same thing. Are you losing the narrative or the battle of the narrative of who he was?
The concern is always there, but we are confident of the information that we are investigating. And we've been following. We did do a thorough investigation on his social media accounts and on his Telegram channel to make sure that these accusations are not true. And we are confident that those allegations are false. If Israel was able to provide any solid proof, the narrative would change. But for now, we are confident of our investigations.
The organization Reporters Without Borders has warned that with foreign press being prevented from entering Gaza, because that is the situation, and then we have local reporters being killed, Gaza is a place where journalism itself is threatened with extinction. How concerned are you with the ability to report what's happening in Gaza with the assault on journalists that we're seeing?
We are extremely worried and we are extremely concerned. We've been also calling, along with RSF and other organizations, for months for international media access to Gaza. Those calls did not stop and they will not stop. Yesterday or before al-Sharif was killed, we were asking for the full protection for the journalists, the local journalists in Gaza, and the access for independent media to go inside Gaza and investigate and document what is happening. But now what we really need is not to protect those journalists. We need to evacuate their journalists, to give them the chance to survive, to recover from what happened, and allow international media to go inside Gaza, report and investigate. But allowing them is also not enough. We need to make sure that they are allowed to report and document freely without censorship, because it makes no difference if you allow few international journalists inside Gaza and then censor them and tell them what to say and what not to say.
We have about a minute left, but before you go, what do you want to see happen right now in this way to see protection for journalists in Gaza? What would be the number one thing that you think could make the difference?
To be honest, this is a very difficult question to answer in 1 minute. But I would say that for now, the international community, the governments, the world leaders need to demand Israel to stop killing civilians, to stop killing journalists, because journalists are civilians, and to ask for independent investigation in the killing of so many journalists through the 22 months this war has been ongoing. So I would say that this would be the first demand.
Okay. Sara, Qudah, thank you so much for this time.
Thank you very much for your time.
Sara Qudah is the Committee to Protect Journalists Regional Director for the Middle East and North Africa.
You've been listening to The Current podcast. My name is Matt Galloway. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon.